Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Shaping Africa podcast. Today, I'm so excited to have Tebby Maritim on the show. Tebby is a self-proclaimed lover of life and social media content creator. She focuses a lot on her parenting journey, and that's what we'll talk about in today's episode. In terms of her background, she went to Braeburn for primary and then Braeside and Aga Khan IB. So hats off to you, Tebby. I'm sure that was not an easy journey. She's also a self-proclaimed homebody and loves to spend time with her family, in particular Ian and her daughter Sage, who is so cute. I'd encourage you guys to find her on social media. So welcome so much, Tebby.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. Yeah. So I guess we can talk a little bit about how you grew up. In contrast to how you're raising Sage. Like every time I think about your gentle parenting style, I'm like, wow, I wonder how Tebby grew up.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll talk about where I grew up first.
Sure.
So I was actually born in Eldoret. And then we moved a few times between like Naivasha, a couple of places. My dad was moving around a lot for work. And then we ended up in Mombasa for a few years. Those are like my very early schooling years. I think I did my before year one up to just before year. I think I repeated year one actually. Mm-hmm. So I did year one in Mombasa, and then when we moved to Nairobi, I did it again.
Okay.
Yeah. So we moved to Nairobi in like 2001. I think I remember I was joining year one, so it must have been 2001. Yeah. So moved to Nairobi, and the way I was brought up was I have very authoritative parents. Mm-hmm. They were very strict and heavy-handed.
Okay.
And I remember being quite scared of them growing up, especially my mom. I was very afraid of doing the wrong thing because she was very hard on us. She really wanted us to do the right thing and to be right. And granted, I totally understand that you always want your children to do the right thing. Correct. And to grow up the right way. And I'm sure even for her, it was like learned from her parents, like this is how you raise a child, this is what you do, this is how you teach them the right way. So she was just doing what she knew. So I grew up being very much, I had a very, I don't know how to explain, but I think you get it. I think most of us kind of get it.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's consistent with how many of us grew up, where
absolutely.
Kids were seen, but like your perspective was not sought or anything like that.
Yes, you're viewed as an extension of your parents.
Totally.
Like you're just a part of me, and I will make you how I want.
Totally, totally, yeah. And for me, I mean, I grew up with a single mom, right? So when I was a little older, she's kind of started breaking that and involving me in decisions, and I would like rush and share with my cousins and then be like, whoa, you guys were talking about what?
It was all new.
Yeah, it was really new.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when you decided, I guess, to have a family, and like what has shaped the way you're raising Sage?
I didn't decide to have a family.
Okay.
It was a surprise. It happened upon me.
Yes.
And when I found out, I was very excited. Because I had so many ideas of what life would look like with a child, and I was just really excited to do this new thing. I love doing new things generally, so this is a whole new challenge to me, and I was just like, right, this is gonna be so cool. And I've always loved children, and just like always loved my younger cousins and played with them so much. And I always prefer the youngest person in the room, which actually is very much like Sage right now. If she loves children, like if she goes into a room, she looks at the smallest person. It doesn't even have to be a child, but whoever is smallest to her in her eyes, she goes to them and like likes them and says hi. So I've always been like that growing up.
Okay.
And so when I realized I was pregnant, I was just like, okay, so what's life going to look like? I also really love to research. So I immediately was just like Googling everything. Like I left no stones unturned. I was just like, I need to know, like everything. So by the time she was born, I was already ready to wean her. Like I knew what I was going to do for eating, like at that point when she was born. So I came across gentle parenting from that research that I was doing.
Okay.
And it felt, because I had always had conflict like in my heart about what the parenting that I thought was normal, the right way to parent. So I always thought like, yeah, so this is what I have to do because that's the right thing, not because it felt right to me. So when I started learning about gentle parenting, it felt I had a lot more peace about it.
Right.
And it just felt a lot more aligned to how I view people and how I view children. And it just, the more I read about it, I was just like, wow, this feels so much more good and so much more natural, and I think it will benefit my child if I try to do this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe for the audience, you can break down like what exactly you mean by gentle parenting. Are there like certain pillars around it? Yeah.
That's a great question because I don't remember any of my research about it. It's just later on become more about how would I like someone to treat me? What do I feel is kindest in this moment? There's many like practices around it that help you kind of guide decisions that you make around maybe what your child does or different scenarios. There's different ways to deal with kind of how they act, and most of the research I've done and like what I've read about is how to help them with emotions, because it's a big thing, emotions, when they're really young. And many people just say, oh, tantrums, they're terrible tools, they're crying a lot, they're doing this. But when you really think about it, a child is going through a lot. For a child to be crying like that, there must be something that's like not met, or they're upset about something. And for an adult, you wouldn't be like, just shut up, stop crying. You wouldn't do that to your husband or another adult. But to children, you say, oh, no, don't look at her. If you look at her, she'll cry more, Which, when you really think about it, it's a really wild thing to do. Like, to me, it's like, I would never do that to my sister. So why should I do that to my child, So it's just, to me, the kindest response to whatever is happening to your child or whatever they're going through, and really trying to come down to their level and listen to them, because they have something to say. It doesn't matter what age they are. There's always something you can learn from someone, even when they're really, really young. So that's kind of my take on gentle parenting. I'm sure there's like proper definitions for gentle parenting, but that's kind of how I live it.
Yeah, but actually one of the things you said was quite powerful, was that like doing what feels right in that moment. And is like the kindest thing to do.
Absolutely.
So I think that's a pretty big takeaway in and of itself.